We ask this question after every mass shooting in America. What will it take to get D.C. to do something, anything meaningful about gun violence? Well, the vast majority of the Americans actually favor common sense gun control measures, including 84%. They want to expand that universal background check. In a poll last year on the same subject had the number even over 90%. 70%, they want to ban high-capacity ammo clips and assault weapons. Apparently, Republicans aren't looking at the same numbers, or if they are not moved to actually follow the American pulse. The only figures seemingly to move the dial for the GOP about are the NRA and the influence they carry, including the money and the vote count that they get from the GOP base. In fact, the NRA has spent $1.6 million this year alone to lobby against the aforementioned expanded background checks. Now, the man on your screen, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he's effectively blocked bills that would do just that from even getting to a vote. The House, they passed two measures to expand background checks. Several Republicans even voted yes on the measure, but Mitch is still saying no and not even letting the electeds cast a no vote. That has earned McConnell a new nickname to go along with Moscow Mitch, and we'll explain that one in just a little bit. The hashtag Massacre Mitch. It has been used more than 100,000 times since the weekend. Twitter is filled with people hammering McConnell for blocking anything from getting done. But that hasn't caught on like the Moscow Mitch phenomenon. He earned that one by blocking any action on election security, even though Russia interfered in the last election and is, as we know, doing the same thing as we speak. An opinion piece in the Washington Post even called McConnell a Russian asset, saying Mitch, he's doing Putin's bidding by letting him continue to attack our elections. Well, that got the attention of a lot of people, including the President of the United States.
I think the Washington Post is a Russian asset by comparison. Mitch McConnell loves our country.
And speaking of Mitch, Moscow Mitch also responded from the floor of the Senate.
The smear that I am, quote, a Russian asset ran in the opinion pages of the Washington Post. It was authored by Dana Milbank, a pundit who spent much of the Obama administration carrying water for its failed foreign policies and excusing President Obama's weakness on Russia.
Well, the aforementioned Mr. Milbank joins us now. He's an op-ed columnist covering national politics for the Post. Getting name-checked by Senate Majority Leader and the President. I take it you feel no remorse for your language or for your assertions?
Well, no, Rich. The majority leader actually guaranteed the issue got a whole lot more focus and attention than it would have otherwise. I mean, to be clear, I said I don't see him as a Russian asset in the sense of being a spy, but in the sense of being of value to Vladimir Putin, because they are attacking us. They did in 2016. They've started to do it again for 2020. And every legislative effort of substance to get something done, to put up our defenses, he has rejected. So we did not back down from that column, and I wrote a follow-up to it a few days later.
Here's what I don't get, and I say this hopefully with no naivete, because cynically, you look at the polling numbers, and the American public, I often joke, can't even agree if it's light or dark outside, with 90% of people agreeing. But that's where we are on universal background checks in terms of cracking down on Russian interference in our elections. Overwhelmingly, the public wants this. We had another issue that obviously impacted a lot of our viewers, the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund. Overwhelmingly, Americans wanted that, but it took a national shaming finally, for McConnell to bring it to a vote. I ask why. Why isn't that political malpractice? Forget ethics, forget morality. Why does he fight the wrong fight on these when the public wants the opposite?
Well, usually the answer has been it's not just about that sort of top line in public opinion, it's about the intensity. And in the gun debate, for example, a large majority are in favor of more gun controls, but the minority are much more passionate about it. We do see that beginning to change now. That issue has become much more potent for Democrats. Republicans or in suburban districts are particularly in jeopardy. You also see it with the weakening of the NRA. So I don't think we're at that magic point where it all changes right now, but we're getting closer and closer to that. The politics really have changed. And then you look at the issue of election security. The majority leader may see those opinion polls, but also thinks that's not really what voters care about. So he's sort of taking a gamble there. But there has been quite a backlash here, and he presumably is going to be under a great deal more pressure when the Senate comes back after its August break.
To that end, it seems, and I was sitting at this same table after the tragedy of Sandy Hook, and I thought there was going to be movement after that. Obviously, I was proven wrong, at least on the federal level. But you could have argued that Obama outsourced it to Congress to carry the water on that, which in retrospect might have been a mistake, but also that they overshot, that they had a more far-reaching gun control agenda than they do now. It seems they want universal background checks. They're not even insisting on the assault weapons ban, but again, overwhelming their support. If that's the tactics this time around, with lawmakers at home in districts, for weeks here, hearing it theoretically day after day, am I delusional? I think there's a chance there could be some movement on this, no?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, it's hard to know when exactly that point is going to be. After Sandy Hook, they were within a vote or two of making it happen. Then you do see, the movement, the pendulum is swinging back towards more gun control. So it's hard to tell exactly where we are, but it would not be surprising. There's certainly going to be a great deal of pressure in the Senate to move those two bills that already passed the House. I think it was back in February. And I think if and when Democrats regain the White House and the Senate, you are going to see some very serious action on assault guns and some other far more meaningful gun control.
We talked about it earlier. There is the teleprompter president and there's the Twitter president. We saw it after Charlottesville, where he stuck to the script, and then, within a few news cycles, he just couldn't help himself. And again, there was fine people on both sides. You know how that went. Tomorrow, the president certainly isn't going to be getting seemingly a warm embrace when he goes on the road to pass on condolences. To that end, do you think there will be message discipline for the first time from this president in the wake of these tragedies? I know that you wrote a column saying the thoughts and prayers has become a cruel joke here. They got to do more than that. It's falling, I think the American public really has had it here with that tired line. How do you see the president navigating this now that he has said that he actually will go on the ground and pay respects?
Well, who knows? I mean, every time you think the president has finally got message discipline, it breaks down. So, of course, it'll break down again. It's hard to say exactly what point. We've already seen a change. The president early yesterday was tweeting about support for background checks. That was completely left out of his remarks when he appeared before the TV camera. So, look, he's under various pressures from different aides. He's from Republicans in Congress and from his base, but he's also aware that he's alienating huge swaths of America, huge swaths of independent voters that he's going to need if he has a chance at re-election.
Again, it was a really interesting piece that Dana wrote about that thought and prayers, and I encourage people to check it out. Dana Milbank, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Coming up next, the topic of busing has become national news all over again, that in the wake of the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris debate over that very issue during the first Democratic debate. But once again, we are discussing this because this is an issue not just in theory, but for folks in our viewing area, an issue they know all too well. It has impacted communities for decades. After the break, Don will put a human face to it by speaking to people directly impacted by the practice.